Another day, another GOP scandal. It's like, what else is new? Do you know what I miss being bored? I'd like to be bored. I'd like to have nothing to talk about but like policy breakdowns and, analysis that is actually going to push the American public forward. Instead, I get to talk about who loves Hitler and why, and how that has been mainstreamed. But today's Politico breaking news, I mean, just par for the course for a white nationalist, pedophile protecting, violent, obnoxious, didn't earn it political party. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, dear friends. Happy Tuesday. Let's get into it. Happy Tuesday, damnation. I am so glad that you are all here. So we begin today with Politico's breaking news story, which is like, is it breaking news? Like, is it a shock to anyone that when leaked messages were revealed, because there's nothing the GOP loves more than a fucking chat group. We know that. Looking at you, Hegseth. But in leaked messages, expose young Republicans' racist chat. Now, everyone, let's pause for shock that a group that is associated with Donald Trump, that is associated with this neo-Republican party, would love Hitler and violence and celebrate rape. It's like it was the most unsurprising reveal, but nonetheless, it's like when people continue to show you who they are, as Maya Angelou said, believe them, right? Believe them the first time. But it is always corporate mainstream media that loves to find ways to twist themselves into a contortionist routine to tell us that the people who don't need to wear hoods anymore, who tattoo themselves with like white nationalist, logos and symbols, are not white nationalists. Like, oh, you don't know what's in their heart. Yes, the fuck we do. If you voted for Donald Trump, if you are part of the Young Republicans group, right? If you're part of any Republican group, I absolutely know what's in your heart. I don't think that you have one, right? So here we have this story today. Leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked, but they kept typing anyway. They referred to Black people as monkeys and the watermelon people, and mused about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who they believed support slavery. I'm ready to watch people burn now, said Annie Katie. I don't know how to pronounce her name. New York's National Committee woman said. The exchange is part of a trove of Telegram chats obtained by Politico and spanning more than 7 months of messages among young Republican leaders in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. The chat offers an unfiltered look at how a new generation of GOP activists talk when they think no one is listening. The more the political atmosphere is open and liberating, like it has been with the emergence of Trump and a more right-wing GOP even before him, it opens up young people and older people to telling racist jokes, making racist commentaries in private and public, said Joe Fagan, a Texas A&M sociology professor who has studied racism for the last 60 years. He's also concerned the words would be applied to public policy. It's chilling, of course, because they will act on these views. The dynamic of easy racism and casual cruelty played out often in the dark, vivid fashion inside the chats, where campaign talk and party gossip blurred into streams of slurs and violent fantasies. Look, folks, I'll be honest. Um, Nothing about this shocks me, nor should it shock any of you. And for people who continue to say to themselves and lie to themselves, like, oh, don't worry, racism will die out. Like, we are 60 years removed from the civil rights movement, right? And those people didn't die out, they birthed racists, right? Racism is passed down like a family heirloom in this country, right? It doesn't, people always want to say, like, oh, it's the old people, it's the old people. And they keep having fucking kids and they teach their kids their values. And their values are about devaluing everyone else who does not look like them, love like them, pray like them, etc. Right? So the only way that we are actually going to tackle racism in this country is if we have honest conversations about what the fuck white people talk about when they are alone. Right? Why is it that it is acceptable and okay, right, for racism to exist in people? And I'll go back to what he said here, that he's concerned, right, the sociology professor is concerned that the words would be applied to public policy. Newsflash: all of America's public policy is steeped in racism. You don't have to look further than, oh, I don't know, eminent domain policies that robbed Black people of community and housing and wealth transfer, right, in order to build highways and roadways in this country. Or how about the fact that Central Park was once a thriving Black community, and then it was gutted and paved over and turned into a public fucking park? How about Lincoln Center in New York City? That was a thriving Black and brown community that was paved over and turned into Lincoln Center. Like, you don't have to be concerned about if the next generation of racists are going to get in power and, oh my God, their racism is going to trickle into policy. That's the basis for policy in the United States. Why do you think that we have lived in a country where drugs are treated differently depending on who the fuck is using them? Crack and cocaine, right? Oh, powder cocaine, you receive one type of sentencing for it, but crack cocaine is like a life sentence, right? Because crack is something that the United States funneled into Black communities in order to build up their for-profit carceral state. But cocaine is what is passed around at the country club. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, it's this type of, like, ignorant white lens that is applied to these issues that, like, always have me at a level 10. It's like these things aren't about to happening. They've been happening, right? It's why 400 years removed from slavery, we still can't get even a report done, research done on reparations in this country, right? Because no one, and I mean no white people in power, actually want to deal with what has been the reverberations of Jim Crow policies, chattel slavery in this country that is living and thriving in today's society. We don't want to have those conversations because you don't want to come off the money. So it's interesting to me that in this country, you'll pay reparations to Japanese folks that were interned. You'll pay reparations to Jewish people. You'll pay reparations to everyone except the people that built this fucking country. So, like, miss me with the bullshit that is consistent in conversations about race and racism and policy that ignores the ways in which our policies have been created to elevate white people and to keep Black people and people of color on the bottom. Right? It's why you have zero policies in schools that create the school to prison pipeline. It's why you have, right, some kids that are thrown into detention and others, depending on where they are, oh, we are using meditative processes. It's the reason why, right, you can tell from someone's zip code what their fucking life expectancy is going to be. Do you think that that is an accident? I'm like, I swear to God, sometimes I'm like, this country will look everywhere but in the mirror. And then want to come out and talk about like, oh, how could we have known? Or like, oh my God, isn't it shocking that young Gen Z Republicans are just as racist as their fucking parents and their grandparents? Yeah, because they were taught no fucking different. How about that? Anyone ever think that if America had done what Germany did following the Holocaust and made it so that you were teaching the good, the bad, the ugly, and the obscene about what happened in that country so that it would never happen again, do you think that we would have Donald Trump in a second fucking term right now? No, we wouldn't. Because you would have understood that slavery was not some unpaid fucking internship, but the blueprint for domestic terror that apartheid people in South Africa used, that the Nazis used in Germany, that all fascist movements are based on the blueprint of Jim Crow and the white supremacist ideology that came from our founding fathers. So it is just like, I'm sorry that it is lost on me that I am supposed to be shocked and somehow appalled by things that I've always known to be true. That if you don't teach people any different, if you don't chastise them, if you don't challenge them to expand their scarcity mindset and to think differently, then why is it that you think that somehow something better is going to be passed down to them? And now you're attacking colleges and universities, right? For daring to try and be the incubators for critical thinking and making sure that those campuses are rid of any diversity, of any conversation around not centering white, straight, cis men. I mean, like, you have to look no further than the obscenity of this regime and how small they are to resurrect the Confederacy, to rename ships, because they need to distort reality in order to hold on to their base, because their base have been infantilized in their inability to accept the truth about what this country has been. It doesn't mean that it will always be that way, but it means that you're never going to be better if you live in some type of fucking Disneyland mentality about this country's founding and about this country's policies. We don't have, right? We don't necessarily have like a caste system in the United States, but you know good goddamn well, just looking at the racial wealth gap, what has transpired in this country over the last 250 fucking years. But they are secure in the fact that they believe that there is some type of the racial wealth gap exists because Black people are just not as qualified, not as smart. And it's like, oh, but that's why you're looking to fire and erase like our excellence? No. Or is it just that you're embarrassed that you had a 400-year fucking head start and you're still marginal? I tell you what, you know what? This is exactly why when people say to me, like, you should run for office or like, you should, be in the White House press corps, in what world? Because I literally can't sit by and just read and listen to bullshit and just nod my head. It's just not in my DNA. So, like, bravo to Politico for posting what it is that we all already know. But like, give me a break. Again, am I supposed to be like shocked and appalled here? Honestly, I don't give a fuck. Right? Because like, I operate on the fact that if you are in any which way associated with the Republican Party, that you have Nazi tendencies, that you are a racist sympathizer. And even if you don't consider yourself to be racist because what? You don't wear a hood and burn crosses and haven't participated in a public lynching? Like, if that's your fucking bar, but you're A-okay with the racist policies that are driving people to be kidnapped, tortured, and murdered by ICE? Because, by the way, don't tell me I'm being hyperbolic, because 20 people have been killed, and that's just who we know of in ICE custody. We don't know what's going on because they won't even let priests in the fucking building. Because I'm pretty sure that the conditions are disgusting. Probably make CCOT look like the fucking Holiday Inn. How is it that you have these detention centers on American soil, but you're telling me that representatives of said districts and states are not allowed in the door? Y'all. Okay. Okay. Let us breathe. So, next up in this list of fuckery that I pulled down today for today's stories is one that, again, on its face, you're thinking to yourself, well, this is good that these news outlets have decided to band together, right? In order to push back against Pete Hegseth and this bullshit policy that he put together for the Pentagon. But at the end of the day, folks, a lot of these news outlets have already capitulated to this administration. I mean, we're here now because of the fact that instead of challenging Donald Trump's racism and his misogyny and his bullshit from jump 10 years ago, that they just kept the cameras rolling, giving him free advertisement and never pushed back on anything that he said because they wanted to see their ratings go up. Didn't matter if the country went down. And so now all of a sudden, Pete Hegseth has managed to do the impossible. I guess I'll give him kudos for that. That he had Fox News, CNN, ABC, and others agree that he's an idiot. So they have rejected the Pentagon press restrictions in a joint statement. And that is, I guess, a big deal. So Fox News, the former, and this is the funniest shit to me too. Fox News, who is the former employer of Pete Hegseth, so they know all about him, on Tuesday, today, joined a chorus of news outlets refusing to sign an agreement with the Pentagon that could limit journalists' rights to gather or report information not officially authorized for release. Why does this matter? And this is coming from Axios. It's a huge rebuke of the Pentagon's efforts to silence the press. In addition to Fox News, other conservative-leaning outlets, including Newsmax and the Washington Times, have also indicated they won't sign the pledge. News outlets have until this show hit the air at 5 p.m. Eastern to sign and acknowledge the new press rules or risk having their press passes revoked. And so this is part of the joint statement that was released. Today, we join virtually every other news organization in declining to agree to the Pentagon's new requirements, which would restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues. Fox News said in a joint statement alongside ABC News, CBS News, CNN, and NBC News. The policy, they went on to write, is without precedent and threatens more journalistic protections. We will continue to cover the U.S. military as each of our organizations has done for many decades, upholding the principles of a free and independent press. Nearly every major news outlet, NPR, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Atlantic, the Associated Press, Axios, Politico, The Guardian, and many others, has said their journalists will not sign. So here's the thing. Bravo. Also, you all could have done this years ago, right? You all could have done this at the first sight of Donald Trump suing a media outlet for reporting the truth. So instead of, ABC, paying out Donald Trump over $20 million for a truthful statement that George Stephanopoulos made about him being an adjudicated rapist, maybe all media organizations should have band together then. Or maybe when Donald Trump came down the fucking escalator in 2015, calling Mexicans rapists and murderers, that maybe then all outlets should have gotten together and said, you know what? This man can't be president of the United States. And so we're going to tell the truth. We're going to let the American people decide, but we're going to give them the unfiltered information that they need for them to make these important decisions about their future. So miss me with the congratulations that I'm supposed to provide for these outlets now, 10 years after creating the fucking fascist Frankenstein that is Donald Trump, that you helped concoct and build and put together. And now that all of a sudden it's not going to serve your bottom fucking line, that now you're like, ooh, maybe we should link arms. You see, what we should all gather from this, friends, is that we are always stronger together than we are apart. And this is why over the last, decade of me being on air, that I have been talking about the fact that first they come for the trans athlete. First they come for abortion, affirmative action. First they come for, right? But it will always end up at your front door. So instead of burying your heads in the sand like a fucking political ostrich, maybe at the first time of an assault on our democracy, on our civil liberties, that all people, all outlets, all industries band together for in service of the whole, rather than maintaining the status quo if it works for you. You know, a friend of mine said recently, I don't know if America has suffered enough yet, right? Meaning that you always make bigger decisions if something is affecting you personally, right? Like I can recall, and you all probably remember too, several Republicans, right? Following the passage of marriage equality, or maybe right before, coming out in support of marriage equality because they have gay kids. And I remember thinking to myself and saying on air at the time that it shouldn't take you having a gay or queer person in your family for you to recognize the LGBTQ plus community's humanity. It shouldn't take you, right? Like, oh, I have a Black friend or coworker for you to give a fuck about Black lives. Like, why must it always have to be so personalized for people to recognize that if we are in a situation where one group or the other gets to dictate another group's humanity and access, that eventually it's going to fucking hurt you? That we should never put ourselves in a situation or build up a society that has the ability to create stipulations around who gets to participate fully and completely in society, knowing that it is the slippery slope of all slippery slopes. I think back, folks, right, to the decisions that were made. And you know how people like your mothers and your parents and grandparents probably, told you as you're, a young person, right? Never make important decisions when you're angry, right? To like sleep on things and clear out your mind the next day. Like never operate from a place of anger and reaction, right? Because you want to come to a situation that is, a tough decision, right? With clarity, right? But wouldn't you have it that every decision that we make in this country, whether or not to go into war, whether or not to bomb a place, whether or not to give people the services that they need, are always decisions that are made from a reactionary place, right? Like, we gave up our civil liberties and paved the way for a surveillance society back in 2001. Did you know that? That following the attacks of 9/11, that George W. Bush said, "Oh, well, the only way for us to keep Americans safe is to surveil you." Well, I don't know if you remember, but we weren't the ones that flew the planes into the towers. They th- they were from Saudi Arabia. So why the fuck did we give up our right to privacy as a mode of protection? But you see, we did that, and we allowed this government to do that because we were making decisions from a place of fear. We entered right into a war with the wrong fucking country because we moved on top of a lie. They told us we needed the Patriot Act in order to keep ourselves safe. So don't mind you, because we said, well, I'm not doing anything bad. So it's okay if you spy on in my house or on my phone or on my computer. Who gets to decide what is criminal and what is not? Because right now, fast forward 20 some odd years, and Donald Trump is using the path that was created by the Patriot Act to tell us that the enemy is within. And he is now dictating who that enemy is. So if you are speaking out against this government, if you are Antifa, if you are against fascism, now you're the enemy. You're a terrorist. But you see, Donald Trump didn't create the Patriot Act. He just weaponized it. And so I say this to say that the decisions that we make now about how we move forward can't be from a reactionary place, because we ended up here because we didn't ask enough fucking questions 20 some odd years ago. We didn't ask enough questions, for instance, when the Supreme Court gave George W. Bush the election. We didn't ask enough questions about the power of the court to subvert the power of the people. We just said, well, they know better than we do. Do-doop, do-doop, do-doop. So long as I get to go along with my day-to-day life, I'll let these other people make decisions for me. And now we're here. It's incredibly important, folks. Like, I know that it is so hard to go backwards when we're dealing with such a fucked present. But like, you have got to understand the ways in which this country has been chiseling away at our rights, at our liberties for decades. And if you happen to be a member of a marginalized group or live at the intersection between multiple marginalized groups, you already knew this. Because you have already experienced what it means to be treated as a second or third class citizen in these United States, to be assumed a criminal just by virtue of your melanin. So it's incredibly important that, as we are dealing with this present, that we think about the past and what decisions we made that got us here and what decisions we have to make now so that we can create a much better future. Because Donald Trump is on borrowed time, folks. He is. The man is 79 years old, wildly unhealthy. They are scratching and scrimping and holding on with their fingernails to white nationalism because they know that the people are not on their side. And the people are more conscious now than at any other time in American history, which is both exciting and terrifying because 77 million people still would desire to live asleep lost in some type of fantasy of yesteryear than deal with the hard work of creating the life that they actually want and deserve. I go on. So, speaking of which, Donald Trump is just so fucking small. Do you know, like, and this is an aside right now because I need to like bring my blood pressure down, but he is just so small, petty, childish, and dumb. So he's on the cover of Time magazine, which, by the way, Time magazine, like, y'all did not need to put this motherfucker on the cover right now as some type of like, peacekeeper. Like, oh my God, Donald Trump has done the impossible. Meanwhile, today, breaking news, both Hamas and Israel are saying that they both broke the cease deal that's been in operation for, I don't know. We're still counting in hours right now. This was not a peace deal that Donald Trump brokered. It was a fucking real estate deal for his criminal ass son-in-law and his daughter to build up their Riviera of the Middle East. So it's like they put him on the cover. And then, oh God, but it was so good. It was so good because this, Lord Jesus, this is what the cover looks like. It was as if somebody said, look, the biggest story right now is, the fact that there is a probable peace deal in the Middle East. So we have to talk about it. And Donald Trump is at the center of it. And then somebody in the editorial room was just like, so what picture you think we should use? Donald Trump is like one of the most photographed people. And somebody said, let's use this one. This one that, let me agree with Donald Trump because he goes on a whole fucking rant today about how this is the worst picture that has ever been taken of him. Oh my God, who does an angle like this? And I agree, but I'm just like, I'm kind of here for the pettiness of Time magazine because I don't think you've ever seen anyone look so fucking terrible on the cover of this magazine than Donald Trump. I mean, what is this neck? Like, is it a neck? Is it a chin? Like, honestly, what is it? Because I'm like looking at myself and, age like does some shit, but I'm just like, oh my God, bitch, you should invest in fucking turtlenecks. Or is that a turtleneck? I don't know, but it is terrible. And so he saw the picture, because Donald Trump was known to make fake covers of himself and hang them in Mar-a-Lago, right? So I guess he was super excited when he heard that he was going to have a real cover of Time magazine. And he's been on Time magazine before, but like this, I just got to go back to it for a second again. I mean, it's horrible. So whoever okayed this, like, I want to buy you a cocktail or 7, because this was like the troll of all trolls. So he says, Time magazine wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair, then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. I never liked taking pictures from underneath angles, but this is a super bad picture and deserves to be called out. What are they doing and why? Oh God, it's just like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. Like, this is the picture Donald Trump deserves. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the picture he deserves. And you know what's funny? So just before I move on, because I can't. But you know, Kim Kardashian, right, came out with some like fucking facelift, like some type of facelift thing on her Skims line, and it's like this rubber band. I don't know. It's like some rubber band or first aid thing that's like $40 that's supposed to tighten your face, right? Meanwhile, I love the fact that these fucking like criminal capitalists sell you shit to make your face look good. Meanwhile, they're going to a doctor every other day for like a touch up. Do you know what I'm saying? But let me feed you this Spanx for your face. But yo, she should get Donald Trump to be her next in her next campaign. Cause I'm like, if she can lift this shit, yo, she'll make another billion. Um, moving on. You know, like if you don't laugh, right? Like if you can't laugh at the pettiness of this man, the smallness of this man. But, you know, again, I will agree with him. It is the worst picture and it is the perfect one for him. Um, but to more serious things. Trump's trade war, this is according to the New York Times and anyone with eyes, with China catches the world in its crossfire. Tariffs and other restrictions between the United States and China are reverberating in unpredictable ways. Um, yeah, the unpredictable way is that you've given the keys to our economy to a man that has bankrupted a casino. You have given the keys to our economy to a man that the last time that he was president, he added $7 trillion to the deficit. And I'm sure he's already done that in a couple of months. Right? So, one of the world's main number crunchers released its latest economic report today, Tuesday. But the middling forecast from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, doesn't begin to capture the helter-skelter ride the global economy is on. Even as the IMF was preparing its report, a flurry of developments were already altering the picture. New U.S. tariffs on imported wood, furniture, and kitchen cabinets that are expected to drive up the cost of home building took effect on Tuesday. So did the opening round of higher port entry fees that China and the United States will impose on each other's vessels. Tuesday's turn of the trade wheel was just one click in a series of repercussions set in motion by Trump's vow to smash the world's economic order. Oh, he's doing a fantastic fucking job of it, right? Because basically what he has done is allowed a smooth entryway for BRICS that has been building their economic power as a collective, right? And just for folks who, and I've talked about this before, who is a part of BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Indonesia, and the United Arab Emirates. Why is BRICS important? Because BRICS wants to and has for the last like decade plus been making a push to reorient the world's powers and have set up trade negotiations with each other, right? And are now, in a way, talking about potentially creating a collective currency that at some point in time will rival the dollar, the euro, the pound, right? And so Donald Trump, with this tariff war, has just provided more opportunities for BRICS and more opportunities for China to figure out how to create more power outside of the United States as their middleman. So, for instance, what is happening right now with our soybean farmers? Well, soybeans have never been more popular in conversation because who knew before Donald Trump's tariff wars that we were the world's suppliers for soybeans and that ours were cheaper by the bushel than where China could go, who is the number one purchaser of soybeans, instead of going to South America? But now, with the tariff fiasco, China has bought how much of America's soybeans? Zero. Zero. Went from multiple billions a year to zero. They've bought nothing. But of course, Donald Trump, big businessman. The souped up tension between the two economic superpowers is catching other countries. That is almost every country in the crossfire. China's restrictions on metals and magnets, for instance, would affect European automakers who use those materials and ship them across borders within Europe. And the levies on ships made in China apply even to non-Chinese shipping companies stopping at American ports. On Tuesday, the Chinese government ratcheted up the retaliation by adding 5 American subsidiaries of the South Korean shipping company Hanwha to its sanctions list, accusing the subsidiaries of supporting and assisting the United States in its moves in the shipbuilding business. And so, again, you are witnessing the way in which Donald Trump is taking America out of the global economic conversation. And because of that, he is making way for other countries to be able to fill the void that is being left by America, while also at the same time making everything in America way more expensive. You really can't make this shit up. And so, funny enough, because I love to talk about the fissures, I love to talk about the dams that are beginning to crack around the GOP. But here is an interview that was done on Fox News that was not that was talking about Donald Trump's tariff deals in an actual honest way. I know, it's crazy.
Back in April, there was this pause, and back then, Peter Navarro, White House senior trade counselor, said we get the potential here to do 90 trade deals in 90 days. As you look at the graphic, the trade deals that have been finalized, there have really only been 7 official agreements that have been reached. So for the people who look at that and say, this is a danger sign looking at 2026, what do you say to them?
Sure. So first of all, the deals we've reached cover a huge percentage of U.S. trade. With Canada and Mexico, a lot of the trade between Canada and Mexico is flowing quite freely. Canada had some retaliation, which they removed. We had Turkey that had retaliation they removed. So there's actually no more retaliation in the world except for China.
That's not entirely true, because you see that Canada used to be one of our biggest trading partners as it pertains to lumber, steel, even alcohol. And now they're not fucking with us. They are literally bypassing the literal and figurative middleman and going directly to Mexico and creating their own trade deals with other places. It's wild. It's wild. But again, Fox again, I want you to see this. The tariffs, 10% for lumber, 25% for cabinets, vanities, unupholstered furniture. On January 1st, the tariff for cabinets and vanities increased to 50%. All the rest of the furniture to 30%. The cost of building materials has increased 34%. And now there is a concern that this is not going to be great for the home buying industry. Because guess what? Buying a home costs you what? Lumber, the building of bathrooms and kitchens and steel and this, that, and the other thing. So first off, if you look around the country, we have a housing crisis, right? But on top of which, Donald Trump is now making it even harder for those who could scramble and put the down payments together to get a house. He's now basically ensuring that we don't have a housing market in this country moving forward, that is going to slump. And then for those that are trying to sell their homes, right, which if you look at the housing market in Washington, D.C. and other places that have been hardest hit by the Doge purge and now the government shutdown, there are places where people are trying to sell their homes and can't. Because who's coming there? Who wants to come to the United States? Yeah, not great. Not great. And so I will say I will say this too, right? Because I also want to talk about where we are in terms of the upside down with the continued fissures inside of MAGA that has many, right, speaking out for the first time. Remember back in 2014 when Obama introduced Obamacare, they wanted to talk about death panels and killing your grandma and all of these things because, God forbid you take health care from a Black man. Now, who actually relies on ACA 10, 11 years later? Oh, folks. Oh, this story is good. And we turn to Harry Enton, my fave over at CNN, to give us the scoop on the numbers.
One of the great underlying things I don't think is necessarily appreciated here is just how much of a comeback story we're talking about in terms of opinions of the Affordable Care Act. I mean, the net favorable rating, back when most of the provisions went into effect back in 2014, look at that. The Affordable Care Act is way underwater at minus 10 points. By the time of the first Trump term, you got it plus 6 points. Look at where we are now, plus 30 points on the net favorable rating. We're talking about the Affordable Care Act on the net favorable rating being 40 points higher than it was when most of the revisions went into effect the first time around back in 2014, 11 years ago. So the key thing to understand about this entire debate is Democrats want to have this debate now in 2025 as compared to 2014 when the Affordable Care Act was not popular. Now the Affordable Care Act is massively popular.
Who is using this as a whole, the ACA, also known as Obamacare? But who is the group of people that are actually using it?
Yeah, this to me was one of the biggest surprises. When you actually dig into the data, you can understand why Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing what she's doing and why this debate is actually dividing Republicans. Because take a look here. Who are the ACA marketplace enrollees? Look at this. The plurality are actually Republicans. Republicans are more likely to use the marketplace than Democrats are at 45%. Democrats at 35%. Then you get independents at 20%. But the key nugget here is Republicans are more likely, in fact, to be the enrollees in the marketplace than Democrats are. And the majority of the enrollees, 57%, are in Republican-held congressional districts like Marjorie Taylor Greene's. So what we're seeing here is it's not actually Democrats who are the only ones who are taking advantage of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. There are a lot of Republicans, and the clear plurality of those who are the marketplace enrollees are actually Republicans, and the majority of them are actually in Republican-held districts. And that is why, Sarah, you're seeing this debate really divide Republicans and really unite Democrats.
Yeah, it goes with the saying, all politics are local, and that really gives you
got
that
it.
sense. Do you want to ask you about which...
So this is what I think is really important, because I have been playing clips of Marjorie Taylor Greene over the past couple of weeks because she is on this issue and on Epstein sounding more like a moderate Democrat than she is a QAnon MAGA conspiracy theorist, which is how she came to power. And folks are like, oh, Danielle, don't fall for the rope-a-dope. First off, who's fallen for Marjorie Taylor Greene's bullshit? Marjorie Taylor Greene is, in fact, an opportunist, but that does not mean that she doesn't know where the wind is blowing inside of the GOP. And I continue to say this. I said it over the weekend on MSNBC, that Marjorie Taylor Greene told us 10 years ago that she was not the fringe of the Republican Party, that she was the base and the mainstream of the Republican Party. And folks wanted to laugh her off and say, oh, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, that's not true. Now, fast forward, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? More people sound like her and write policies in the way that she was speaking 10 years ago. So now that Marjorie Taylor Greene is finding herself wanting to remain in power and is listening and has the understanding around her constituency and still cares about her constituency because she wants to stay in power and she has other political ambitions outside of Donald Trump, she's seen the writing on the wall, which is that, like, the people in my district can't afford health care. So why the fuck are we sending $20 billion to Argentina? Right? Like, if we're supposed to truly be America first, then why the fuck are we sending billions of dollars to Israel? Now, we know that all of this, what she says, is also wrapped up in anti-Semitism and is also wrapped up in racism, but it doesn't make the point any less clear that the reason why her constituents voted for Donald Trump is because they thought that he was really going to put them first, their needs first. They were stupid because the man is a used car salesman and has been lying and grifting his entire life. So why you would believe him, I don't know. But they believed the fact that he was going to put America first, that it was going to be about them, and specifically when they say them, about white Americans. And now she is hearing from her folks like, wait a minute. He made all of these moves. He did this big bullshit bill. And now I'm going to lose Medicaid. I'm going to lose Medicare. I may not have Social Security. I may not have X, Y, and Z moving forward, like all of the things that I've been paying into. So she's in the midst of a rebrand because she very clearly sees where the GOP is going. And if she thought that she could continue to ride that Donald Trump train, then she would be the fucking conductor. But the fact is, and this is why it is important to elevate the fissures that we are seeing. And if the Democratic Party is smart, we'll use a fucking crowbar and pry that shit open. But we know where they go. And so another moment, Adam, is it Mokler? I think so. From Midas Touch, he's been on CNN's Roundtable with Abby Phillips. And he gets into a back and forth with Scott Jennings. We know Scott Jennings, an apologist, not that bright, but, he gets paid $250,000, if not more, from CNN to go on television and lie and carry the water for MAGA. But in this exchange, once again, Adam brings it to him.
Increasingly, you're hearing Republicans saying we need to fix the healthcare part.
You said
part of
that
this. Like they recognize it's a problem.
You said that Democrats are dying on this hill, but a lot of Republicans are climbing up the same hill right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been outspoken about it. Mike Johnson got confronted on C-SPAN the other day by a Republican. I don't know. I know I'm a lot younger than you, so I'm closer to like 5th grade government 101, but this takes compromise. If you have 53 Republicans and you can't get 7 Democrats to sign on, that means they're not compromising. There were 13 CRs passed under Biden because they let Republicans into the room and they said, listen, you guys can talk to us. We'll talk to you. We'll negotiate. In this case, Democrats are essentially being shut out, and Donald Trump is posting AI memes of Hakeem Jeffries with a sombrero. So if you want to talk about a circus,
it's a meme war.
It's reciprocal from the Democrats. Donald Trump is the president. He should have a say.
Let me just.
I love it because he is very clear, right, about what is happening inside of the GOP. And now you have him explain to you, like, this is a country that has a two-party system, whether we like it or not. And if you have, like he's saying, 53 Republicans, but you can't get 7 Democrats to side with you, and you're holding meetings, purposefully not bringing Democrats into the room, then you're not serious. You're not serious about taking care of the American people, and you're not serious about doing your job. They were able to pass that big bullshit bill because at the time, all you needed was 50+1, and they had JD Vance come in as the tiebreaker to pass that big bullshit bill. But in order for those billion-dollar tax breaks to take hold, you have to okay stealing from the poor in order to pay for the benefits of the rich. And that is where Democrats are saying, we're not signing on to this. Either you restore what you took out of Medicaid and Medicare, and you ship this bill so that it doesn't shiv the American people, or we can continue with this shutdown. And the polling shows that the American people absolutely see that who is responsible for this shutdown is who is in control. And it's Republicans that are in control, not the Democrats. And again, you know that you have gone off the deep end when you have now lost Joe Rogan and Marjorie Taylor Greene. When Joe Rogan is now speaking out against ICE abductions and saying, I thought, and again, fuck Joe Rogan, right? Like, all honesty, fucking paid $100 million a year to be a fucking dope, right? The highest paid fucking podcaster. And he doesn't know shit. But he was given a microphone, and he provided a seat at the table to all of the worst people with the worst ideas. And now all of a sudden wants to be like, oh my God, I thought that we were going to be going after criminals, and I was on board of that. I didn't realize we were going to be going after hardworking people. But you take a listen, because again, this is about the fissures. It's not about liking these people. It's about what is coming up inside of the GOP.
The way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like, let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year. Okay, but also have a heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anybody on your side. If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people, just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt. Not a criminal. Not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid. They probably didn't even know what the was going on.
Man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico. And they've grown up their entire life in America. They can't even speak Spanish. And they could get sent back.
We have a labor force in America across many industries that has been built on illegal labor. That's a fact. That also cannot be ignored. And as a conservative and as a business owner in the construction industry and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan than just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that. So, and I'm going to get pushed back on that, but it's I'm just living in reality from here on out.
I don't know where she was living before, but reality was not her home address. Let's just say that. And yes, folks, I agree with you. Fuck the both of them. They are responsible for elevating Donald Trump to the place that he has been. But the fact is that when you start to see the fissures and the dissent bubbling up inside of this party, Democrats would do themselves and the fucking country a service by taking advantage of that. Right? And escalating that. But instead, they don't want to talk about the Epstein files. They want to pretend healthcare doesn't, like, do you know what I'm saying? You have to, if you are trying to win, and that is what this is about, power, right? We're not having policy debates anymore. This is about power and who owns power. And right now, the wrong people in this country have all the power. And how do you get that power back? You reframe the narrative. You spotlight their weaknesses. You use a crowbar to break them wide open and expose their flaws, their hatred, their small-mindedness, their scarcity. That's what you do. That's what fucking winners do. And so I don't show you these videos and show you these things because I'm saying, let's all applaud Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joe Rogan. No, what I'm saying is Donald Trump has a fucking problem. The GOP has a problem right now. And if you are trying to win and you are trying to assume and amass power, then you take advantage of where you start to see the weaknesses present themselves. And that is what Democrats don't do. Right? The economy is in the fucking shitter. And and what the IMF report did today is tell us that things are about, if you think that things are bad right now, they are about to get 10, 20 times worse in the coming months. This country is not headed towards a recession. No. It is headed towards a depression. A manufactured, designed depression by Donald Trump so that the oligarchs get to buy up this country for fucking cheap. Weaken the dollar, crypto goes through the roof. This is all about, right? Greed and power. And where is Donald Trump weak right now? Epstein and the economy. And if you are not taking advantage of those two things, spinning them, creating billboards about all of this, then you're not doing your job. Then that is just malpractice and you shouldn't be in office. Because again, we're not in a policy debate anymore. We're in a struggle for power. And I want that power to rest in the hands of the people and not these motherfuckers. Oh, dear friends. All right. It is Tuesday. I've gone very long. But for those of you that are here, dear friends, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Feed the algorithm fairies right now. Hit that bell so that you never miss an episode and that you are always subscribed. And if you're watching me right now, on the Damn Digest on Substack, hello, my friends. Make sure that you subscribe there. Know that I never put any of my content behind a paywall. But if you have a few bucks and you have the ability to become a paid subscriber over on Substack, please do consider doing so. All right, my friends, it is Town Hall Tuesday. For those of you who are new here, the last 10 minutes of the show, I do a town hall where you get to type out a question on anything. It could be on music, the WNBA, on politics, et cetera, and I do my best to answer your questions. So without further ado, dear friends, let's get into it. All right, my friends. Hey girl. Siabunga. Yes, terrible news today. Question: what are your thoughts on the late great D'Angelo? Soul music, R&B music legend D'Angelo passed away today at only 51 years old. from pancreatic cancer that he was battling outside of the view of the public. And it is just, I mean, it's like, I don't know what is happening this year, but it's like everybody good is getting got, as opposed to the people who were just like, hey, universe, hey, God, they're over there, right? Like, leave the good ones. So it is, today is heartbreaking. D'Angelo, incredible artist. Make sure that you type question in all caps and then followed by question. Question: did you catch the iHip lady interviewing Booker? It was glorious, point blank. Do you support Netanyahu? No, I didn't, but I saw some of the clips and I was just like, bravo, bravo. I mean, look, Cory Booker, he can do all of, you know, the stand-up town hall political theatrics that he wants, but until he stops suckling on the AIPAC and Israel teat, he's not going to get any respect from me. So shout out to her for taking him to task on that bullshit. Question. Question. Hi, Danielle. I love the martini. Curious because I know you're a basketball fan. Do you play basketball? I absolutely do not. Are you a college and/or NBA fan? Also, I am a college fan. NBA, the MNBA, as I like to call it. I don't watch as often. I watch with my dad when I'm home visiting my family, but I don't generally put it on. And he said, I played in high school, but I'm only 5'4". Well, I am also part of the short club. So basketball was not my sport, but I ran track and field and cross country. I was a middle distance and long distance runner. Game Shark question: what do you think it will take for truth to power Dems like Crockett and AOC to be given the reins? It's going to take everybody else to die. And I'm not even being facetious. I'm like, it's going to take everyone else to die. The last thing that the establishment Democrats want to do is give up power. And the last thing that they want to do is give up power to Black women and to brown women. And it's why, you know, we tell people run for office, you know, get elected. And, you know, it will take a wave, you know, of more women, more people of color, more deep-seated progressives in order to change the direction of this establishment status quo ship. And, you know, look, the establishment, they're in their late 70s and 80s, right? Like, they're not going to be around much longer. So the Crockett's and the AOCs need to continue to be speaking truth to power, need to continue to do the work because they have the people on their side, because they are fighters. But what do I think it'll take? Those people dying. Question, Ingrid: how can we get everyone on board for a national strike if so many of us, myself included, live paycheck to paycheck? Look, like I said, and I've said this before, I believe that it needs to be a rolling national strike. You know, I've said before, should it start with the air traffic controllers who are going to work for free right now and don't even know if they're going to receive their back pay because of the government shutdown? Should it begin with the federal workers and then trickle into different spaces and places? But yes, fighting for freedom is going to require a community effort, which means that those people that do live paycheck to paycheck, right, getting support from those that have more than enough. And that's what I talk about, like when I say things like community care and checking on your neighbors and creating, you know, meal trains and all of these things, particularly for those that are not receiving a check right now, who are living paycheck to paycheck as well. So we need to be more community minded and not just individually minded, which is very against the grain for American society. Looking for questions. I'm not going to put it up again. Will you please put up that Trump neck picture? No, I'm not putting it, because I'm telling you, I don't want to see it in my sleep tonight. But I had fun with it today, boy. It was a good time. Because it's like the worst picture that Donald Trump has that is ever in public. Have you seen the CDC site? There is a propaganda banner by the Trump administration. No, I have not seen the CDC site, but in some actual good news, there are airports that are refusing to play Kristi Noem's propaganda Department of Homeland Security video blaming the TSA long lines on the Democrats playing politics. And there are airports that have said, we're not playing this because it clearly is in violation of the Hatch Act. But I will take a look at the CDC's website. Gus, question. Do you think America can realistically climb out of the mess it's currently in and remain a functioning democracy? So, yes and no. Do I think that America has the tools and the ability to climb out of this mess? Yes. Do I think that we are going to go back to the way that things were? No, I don't. I think that America has to get into an imaginative place to create something new, because the way that democracy was functioning still was not functioning for all people, right? And so we have got to get to this place of moving outside of the status quo and just accepting the crumbs and accepting politicians telling us that our ideas are too radical, because it wasn't radical during COVID. Everyone was able to get a check, and all of a sudden there was mass support and care that was pushed out. So we know that the government can actually work for us, and quickly. So we need to put people that are in power that are able to actually get those things done and that don't just succumb, right, to the donors. So I don't want the democracy that was. I want something new. But do I believe that there is enough of us that want something new and can create it? Yes, I do. Question. This is from Norma. Would you consider doing a live stream collaboration with others such as Joy Reid, the IHIP ladies, Jennifer and Angie, Hassan Piker, or go on the Majority Report? Yes, I am open to doing collabs with everybody. And as a matter of fact, I started my interview series, The Fire Pit, last week. I have an interview that is up right now at Substack with Dr. Christina Greer, who is a professor at Fordham University. And a dear friend of mine. And I'm going to be rolling out interviews more and more. But yes, I am actually looking to do more Substack live collaborations and more collaborations with like-minded voices, because I think that the more that we can amplify, the more that we can unite, the better off. All right. Let's see. Oh, question. Will you be watching Unrivaled League when it starts? Yes. I was at the inaugural game of Unrivaled last year. I love that league. I'm so excited for its second season. I think the players that are coming on are incredible. And for folks that do not know, Unrivaled is the professional 3x3 women's league started by Nafisa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx and Brianna Stewart of the New York Liberty. And it is an incredible league that is revolutionizing women's basketball. And it also created an opportunity following the incarceration of Brittany Griner for women to be able, for professional basketball players, women, to be able to stay in the country and not have to go overseas to make money, because it is also higher paying than the WNBA. So yeah, I love the league, and I believe it starts January 5th. I think the second season starts. So yeah, I will absolutely be watching. Looking for another question, another couple of questions. Collier, do you think the blue states should withhold taxes to start a new union? I think that they should withhold taxes, and I think that they should band together, much in the same way that you saw the West Coast and East Coast create their own health collectives to push back against RFK's conspiracy junk science. I think that absolutely they should withhold taxes, because you're not going to get shit from this federal government. So why are you giving them anything, right? In order to supplement and provide welfare for red states. I have no idea. So yes, I do. But do I think that to start a new union? No, because I think that will lead to a civil war. But I do believe that there needs to be more unified resistance and economic pushback from blue states against this regime. Good question. I'm looking for one more. Danielle, do you do speaking tours? We would love to see you in Chicago. I do not do speaking tours, but I'm working on a book. So hopefully, if if all goes well in the future, I will be on a book tour. So put out that good energy. Oh, thank you so much, Danielle. Actually, a statement, BTW, the fire pit is awesome. I appreciate that so much. Like I said, I launched the fire pit, an interview series last week. There are 2 interviews that are up right now on YouTube. And I have my new latest episode is up right now on Substack, The Damn Digest, with Dr. Christina Greer. So do check that out. I appreciate the feedback. Looking for a last question. Let's do this one. Did you hear about Dominion voting systems being bought by an ex-GOP election official? And that is now called Liberty Vote. Very worrisome. Oh, it's incredibly worrisome. And they are going to do everything and anything to steal the midterm elections, which either are not going to happen because Donald Trump is going to try and invoke the Insurrection Act, or are just not going to be fair, or the polling stations will be flooded with ICE agents and sniper trucks and all of this shit in order to intimidate voters. On top of which, there is a big gerrymandering push that is underway to eliminate Democratic seats and gain 19 Republican seats in the House. So yeah, the midterm elections are going, they're already some fuck shit, and we are a year plus out. So there's that. Great questions today, my friends. Thank you so much for joining the Danielle Moodie Show. As always, I want to shout out our super stickers and super thanks. This is independent media, so every dollar that you all send in allows me to do the work that I do, which is provide you with news with integrity and passion. So Shirley, thank you so much. Claire, thank you so much for your $10. Ernst, as always, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. Appreciate you. KS Man 97, thank you so much. PJ, as always, with these big, generous donations. Appreciate you. Thank you. Elizabeth, thank you. Jimmy, every dollar counts and is appreciated. KS Man, again, thank you so much. Maureen, and appreciate you. Kim, Eternal Flame, thank you so much. BB Word, thank you. Eternal Flame again. KS Man again, thank you so very much for your donations, for your support. I appreciate you. All right, dear friends. So tomorrow, notes. I am live on Substack again, The Damn Digest. I'm live on The Damn Digest tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, for the check-in with my friend Jared Yates Sexton. Then I will be live at 3 p.m. with Wajahat Ali for our midweek democracy-ish check-in on Substack, and then back here at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Danielle Moodie Show. So do make sure that you tune in to all the goodness. Power to the people, my friends, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you tomorrow everywhere. So make sure that you tune in. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.